We're, I love that. I love that sound of recording in progress because this is now the seventh HETMA Virtual Conference. Virtual before it was cool. Award-winning virtual conference, shall we say. Virtual before it was cool. Um, and I guess oh, don't. Oh my God, I look ugly. Hey, welcome to the Higher Ed AV podcast. My name is. Oh, wait, no, wrong show. But I will say that because this is where I get a freebie episode because I'll still post as the opening thing as a Higher Ed AV episode. But we are here. Someone in the background is doing a lot of stuff here. Um, we are here. As the state of HETMA. We have always opened our virtual conference with kind of the state of the organization, where we're at, what we're doing, yeah, going through the different initiatives, the wins. Maybe we'll talk about some of the losses, the things that we need to do, the direction we're moving in. Um, I'll do a moment to just kind of reflect because now this is the first virtual conference where, for some reason, I'm still opening it up, but I am no longer chair. I am just co-founder and emeritus. And to me, I know BC and I were saying that before we let people in this morning, and this is the first time we have a conference where we are stepping aside, and so I'm just hosting and moderating a session. That's kind of interesting. And to me, though, I'm going to cry. I'm going to cry because I don't know. I'm pulling it out. I don't know if it'll show it, but I got this little thingy at Infocom this last year, where the official turnover of the organization happened. And, I think I'm going to start with BC on this because we have to do our reflection. What the hell were we thinking 6 and some years ago? And to look at what the organization is today, thousands of members, global
Mhm.
organization. Reflect on this, BC.
Dude, I mean, it's exceeded every potential possible thing I thought it would turn into. I mean, kind of looking back, we were just talking about, hey, how can we have our voice heard better with manufacturers and maybe within our own universities? And now it's turned into a thing where, like you said, we've got global presence now. We've got people that are participating from all over the place. And I think the most important thing, Joe, is that kind of the testament to any organization is, can it survive a leadership change? And we're doing a leadership change, and if nothing else, the organization is growing and continuing to get stronger. So it's I don't know, man. I'm honestly, I get kind of speechless when I think about it because I never in a million years anticipated the level of growth, participation, and activity that HETMAS has now.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you were to pick out one transitional moment where you said, like reflecting back, what was that one moment where you said, okay, this is now something that will live on. This is something that it's not just our steering committee, which if it weren't for our steering committee would not have taken off.
Right.
But what was that? What was that thing?
I think it was probably the first, like a couple of years ago at Infocom, our first HETMA members only banquet that we did in the conference center. And when I saw how many people took time out of their schedule to come and participate and just kind of join as a group, I was like, okay, we've got something here. It's not just, hey, we're doing free webinars here and there, or hey, we're holding calls every now and again. People are showing up and they're wanting to be involved and they're asking, hey, how can I do more? How can I get involved? How can I be part of your initiatives? Or do you need me to help you do any of this stuff? And that's when I was like, okay, we've got something here. We've got a something that is I think is kind of unique among the higher ed folks, is that we all kind of, and that's not to say that there other groups don't have it as well, but this just has a feeling of we're all kind of moving in the same direction and want the same things.
Absolutely, absolutely. That was a good answer. That is not the correct answer,
Oh,
but that was a good one.
I'm sorry.
The correct answer is when we took over when the pandemic happened and they had to cancel Infocom. And we reached out to Avixa and said, "Hey, we have all these higher ed people who have sessions prepared that can't do them. Can we do it? We'll do another." Which is why, if you notice, why there's 7 virtual conferences, not 6, even though we've been around for 6 years, because we did 2 in 1 year, and that was making up Infocom. And I think that's where I think a lot of the current members actually like ours, even our leaders kind of first discovered us, is taking that over. So to me, that was that transitional moment. And I think more even just because it was Avixa saying, yeah, we'll partner with, we'll do this. There's kind of the, I don't want to say legitimacy behind it, but I think to me, that was the moment we went, oh, this will become something beyond just a ragtag group of people deciding that we're just going to throw our own thing together.
Yeah.
Right. So that was the correct answer, BC. I mean, yours was all right.
I'm
But
glad mine was still okay. But to be honest, I try to block out those pandemic years. Those just like the whole Men in Black flashy thing. I just do that on a daily basis to get all those memories out of my head.
all right, so now we're gonna welcome to the show. I'm gonna go untraditional. And let's just get the hard part out of the way. How we doing on money, Atkins? Come on. All right. So Atkins Fleming, I mean, our treasurer, you've been around. I gotta say, I'm gonna say a couple of words about Atkins, even though he hates me because I owe a billion things to him still. Um, like a lot. Okay, you know what? Everyone has weaknesses, and that is mine. But you've seen this organization grow really from the back, from the underside. That doesn't sound right. Reflect where you see, again, I'm almost the same question as BC, but where you've seen it, I think you've been on the board for what, 4 years now, 5 years as
Yeah, 3 to 4. Yeah,
treasurer, 4 years
that
treasurer.
range.
So kind of what was your moment? And then also now, because we are state of, where do you see us going? And of course, your correct answer for your favorite moment is when we had barbecue together in New Braunfels. So I'm accept that one, knowing that that really was the correct answer. You can have, you may now.
That's true. That's true. I was graced by your presence. Yeah, I mean, this has been a fun ride. And this is sort of, I always try to get people to step up and volunteer in this org, and that's kind of what I did. There was an opening for the treasurer position. I didn't really know anything about it. I don't know if the board really knew what that position was at that time. It was so early. But I kind of raised my hand and I was like, if you need to fill this temporarily, I'd be interested in helping in some way. And, sure enough, that got, you know, it went through. I got accepted, whatever, however you want to term that. And kind of been happy to play a part in this org ever since. Um, I would say in my specific role, the word that comes to mind is value. Um,
Mm,
I think a lot of us, the higher ed tech managers, we see the value in this organization and the potential for it. But what is so exciting to me is that our industry partners see the value in this organization as well. And we see that on a regular basis in the terms of dollars. And we couldn't do what we do without our partners, our sponsors, the manufacturers and resellers that come alongside us. And I think the fact that they're willing to put, their hard-earned dollars into this org speaks volumes. And it allows us to do the things that we do, have the initiatives that we have, support higher ed tech managers in the ways that we do, and that's really exciting. It's fun to be a part of, and just sort of like you said, Joe, see it behind the scenes. Um,
yep.
so
Yeah, you
yeah,
know what?
that's
That
my
was that
answer.
was a good answer. I will accept that one. That was but I think you're right. And also let me say, we absolutely love all of our sponsors. You are our favorite people on earth. And we honestly we couldn't do this without you. And I see Scott Sanders on my screen up at the top. So I'm going to move this mic away and I'll say the same thing. We really, really love you and love everybody. And but I think that the truth is, and I think BC kind of talked about this too, is, we started because of that, like, and there's a lot of orgs, right? There's a lot of great higher ed orgs. There are tons. We support them all. We love, we think everyone should join all of them. Okay. We 100%. Um, but I think like our thing was, well, how do we connect that manufacturer connection? How can we bring to those who always don't always get that, BC and I were in major cities, right? We have all the vendors here. We have everybody. We get to see this. How can we bring that same thing to others who don't get that direct connection with manufacturers that is more common now? It wasn't common
Yeah.
6 years ago at all. I'd like to think we had something to do with that, with making it more common, right? And drawing that together. So I think that's absolutely great. That's great. Um, all right, next, I don't know. I'm gonna go to our secretary, and I was gonna say something nice here, and as an intro, but I'm gonna cry because one of my favorite moments with Annie was, you were telling me just how the org has impacted you in your life, and I remember us sitting there talking in person, and I'm gonna cry again. So anyway, it's the impact I've seen in people's lives through this organization. Is really what gets to me, and I'm going to do the same thing for you. Talk about kind of where it's been, but also now where you see us going. What is the current state, and kind of our hope for the future?
You made me tear up too. Yeah, so obviously it's been huge for me. I used to work at a university where I was the Department of One AV person handling events and installs and support. And I've constantly felt like I need a support system. I don't have it here. I need something else. And so I was looking for more places to get that support system. And I found Joe's podcast and I started listening to that. And then
Amazing podcast. Yeah.
it really is the best thing for an install. Started listening to that and just following up on the guests that Joe had on the show, and then the HETMA meetings. I felt like I was crashing the HETMA meetings when they were first starting, and then I was just so welcomed, and then I was nominated for a role, and I decided to take Joe's advice and say yes, and that's where I am today. But it's been life-changing, and I definitely have found the support system that I was looking for when I was at that previous institution. And I feel so much a part of a community in a way that I haven't felt since like theater group in high school.
We hit the level of the high school theater group. I
That-
mean,
that's
that's a
impressive.
compliment right there. That's our new tagline.
Theater
And where
groups
we're
are-
going, I think we could go anywhere we want. I think we've got so much energy and so much passion behind our momentum that nothing will get in our way. We'll hit the road bumps and we'll keep going.
So with that, because you've also been, really, I think part of the board since to me the board existed. Like you've been around, and you've seen it. One of the things that I don't know if it's a compliment or a criticism, it might be both, is we are known for being organic and fluid. Part of getting the board was, it can't be that. We have to formalize. We have to do that. So where do you see kind of as we move forward? Are we still organic because it was a good thing which allowed us to grow and be this, or are we that formal org? And I mean, you're the one that takes all our notes. You're the one who sees, the formality of our org, or where is it going? Have we hit a sweet spot there?
Yeah, I think, the middle path in all things, and that's what we're figuring out. We're marrying both organization and organic growth and ideas and thoughts. And I think it's a great combination of both.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. No, I'm gonna cry. All right, I have to leave because I'm gonna cry. I keep thinking that conversation. All right, so anyway, next. All right, we're moving. I'm waiting for some other people to hop on too. So I'm gonna look up there. So we're gonna move. We're gonna now move to our 1 year board of board of director role. So for those who don't know, the way our board is set up, We have boards and chairs. We have 9 spots on our board of directors. 2 are permanent ones between BC and I. And then we have our chair and vice chairs that are for, I'll call them forever roles as long as they would like to be there. Um, and then we have our treasurer and secretary, and then 3 at-large roles, a 3-year, a 2-year, and a 1-year. I am prepping this, of course, as you start hearing all these stories, for those of you listening and want to get further involved, there are opportunities. And then we have a bunch of chairs, like some 18 chairs or something like that, for all our different initiatives. But our 1, 2, and 3 gives that opportunity for that consistent flow of new ideas, as well as making sure that we're always getting the voice of our membership, where a lot of boards can just get stale and have the same voice like me, and people get tired of it. So, Teddy, you are our 1 year at large. And again, kind of same question to you, except I'm going to spin it a little bit different because you've been part of the membership. You're now 6 months-ish into being on the board. Talk about kind of your role first, kind of getting involved, but now how you see the board moving and going forward. And you had a great opportunity. You've been able to serve and travel with us and be a part of a lot of our events. So yeah, I'll stop talking.
So getting involved, go back. I first heard of HETMA InfoComm 21, the October one. Saw the badge flag on who I found out was Troy Powers. Attended a session that was hosted by Chris Dector and Raj, and everyone in there had the little HETMA badge flags too. And I was like, all right, I got to see what this is all about. So I came to Virtual Conference 22, but wasn't heavily involved. And then around Virtual Conference 23 is when I really started becoming heavily involved. For me, that was when I started seeing the impact, understanding, coming from a very small institution in the middle of nowhere, where we don't have, vendors won't come here. They won't come have meetings because they're like, how far are you from the nearest interstate? We're 2.5 hours from the nearest interstate. So the connections that I've made through HITMA has been able to get me, they won't may still not come here, but at least they're willing to listen and talk with us. So it has been a huge asset learning from people. When I started, I was a one-man department, and listening to people like Joe and BC giving advice and telling me the right things to say has, I've grown to where I have a department of 3 now, as well as a army of student workers. So that's HITMA has really helped me grow. Being a member of the board is honestly the biggest honor of my life. Like the fact that the membership elected me, that speaks volumes, because for people to value my input as someone from out here in the middle of nowhere, a little, podunk, as people would say, that they respect what I might be saying, that really means the world to me. So, this has been the greatest honor, and that's on that part. That's really all that I can say. But as for the board, I feel like the board is, we're still growing. We have a good core group. We are. I feel like we're being a little more open with things with membership now. We're listening to the membership, and like, even, so there's been some members that I've reached out to personally. I'm like, hey, what can we do? What can we do to make the membership better? And you all probably don't know that, but I bring those ideas in. I'm like, hey, so can we try this? And I really feel that like Annie said, there's nothing that can stop this organization if we keep moving in the direction that we're moving. And for the people who are trying to pitch this, get members to join from small institutions, they're like, what can HITMA do for me? I was like, HITMA can do everything for you. I was like, because it has done a world for me. People take us seriously. People value what we're bringing to the table. And that, that's all that I can really say is, again, thank you to everyone who did elect me. And again, thank you to you all for accepting me, because like Annie said, she may have been theater and it feels like the theater group for her. For me, I was a band nerd. So again, the music kids for the most part, are shy and timid when they're out, but when they come into the music department, they're more outgoing, they're more vocal, and that is me. Like when I'm with this group, I'm more me than I am elsewhere, and I feel accepted. So thank you all.
I love that. I love it. And I want to dig into something you said. Um, More transparent and listening to the members. And do you see that now kind of as the role being on the board? Is that a change that's happened? Because I think it's important, right? Obviously it's important, right? It's the membership that makes the org. But we did hear that early on about, we've always tried to be inclusive. I mean, that's been always it. But we did hear that kind of like we kind of do our thing. But now I think bringing that membership in, growing our committees, getting more voices in has been intentional. So I don't know if people listen, but
Yep.
we've actually been intentional with that in the last year. And you see that. So talk more about that.
I mean, just like, we especially input in the committees that are really starting to grow. Um, when they bring us an idea, they bring us a topic, we bring it to the board, and we're a lot more open with, we're accepting of the ideas. Sometimes, we may not have, and it's probably because we didn't have as many active members in the past too. Like our active membership is growing, and we could always use more active people. Any of you who are on here that aren't always that active, we have a lot of committees that are going, and we could use some volunteers.
Absolutely. I mean,
Shameless plug for that.
if you think about 22 initiatives, I don't know, we keep losing count. But if we had just 5 different people on each committee, I mean, we would have 100 active members just filling out committees, not to mention everybody else, right? Think about that. I mean, that's
I mean, like I'm very active with events and education, and we have a core group of education that are at every meeting, but man, we could really use more help as we're starting to grow out those initiatives, especially when, I know we brought it up last year at Virtual Conference. We were trying to launch HEX, and we've still been working along with that. It was a little more daunting of a task than we thought it was going to be. And we could definitely use more people with input to help us with that, with conference planning, with infocom planning. I mean, please help out. We listen to everyone, we value everyone's input. And if you don't feel like we're valuing, speak up, tell me, say, hey,
absolutely.
I said this and I don't think you listen to me. Point out my shortcomings, point out our shortcomings, because that's what we're here for. We're here to help people grow in our vertical as well as help the organization grow.
Yep. And I want to reiterate exactly what you said. The voice of our members is huge. Like, if you think about it, how was the Prism Scholarship started? Because Caden came on a virtual conference and said, basically, how come your entire steering committee is middle-aged white guys? Right? And it was just a blindside, right? It wasn't intentional, but absolutely right. And so let's take care of that. Let's diversify our board, and let's actually create a scholarship that makes real difference, an impact. So anything anyone says, that's how we become. So I love that. I love that, Teddy. All right, I'm going to move up my screen over to, actually, is it the same on everyone's screen? It is. At least it's on both of my screens over here. It's the same. I'm going to try something before I move to Ryan, who's held 2. What happens if I do this? Look at that. Advertising along the way, huh? Look at that. Look at that. We are almost professional. Almost. So Ryan Gray has held 2 board positions, held vice chair and 2-year at large. So same question to you. I'm going to get miles out of this one question. Again, talk about your voyage through the org, and really even I've seen what you've done with Higher Ed AV, and you've got Amplifier and taking that and and kind of now your look moving forward.
I mean, I've told this story before, and somewhere there's a video I sent to you in BC, I think on a text a while ago, that is probably way more sentimental than I could put it. But yeah, my story.
Why'd you remind me of that? Now I'm going to cry with yours. That was great.
But I'm an extrovert who's at a community college in Northern Arizona, and during COVID had some of the same things that everybody else did, which is there's got to be connection. There's got to be people like me out there. And, I'm one of those people, same thing, like listen, find Joe's podcast. And I think one of the ones I remember was, no offense, not just you interviewing somebody, but one that was a big group or something like that. And you hear a lot of different voices and they're talking about things that are interesting to me. So you feel like you're, like Teddy said, you're barging in. All right, I'm just going to join a HETMA meeting. I'm going to find this higher ed AV, happy hour and just lurk and see what this thing is about. And then eventually just email Joe and be like, I think you should put me on that podcast. I don't know what I'm going to say, but I'm just going to introduce myself and open the door. And I would throw that out to everybody out there, which is one of the cool things about HETMA. And the organic part is if you get an idea and you want to take it and run with it and own it, we will enable that. You know what I'm saying? We will find a way. If people who step up and want to go, like those things are there. And so what it's meant for me is that same thing, which is connection and support. And one of the things that is born true from the values of it is it doesn't matter what size school you're from. There's no reason that anybody should be that worried about what Yavapai College is doing, although Yavapai College is doing very good stuff and you should all pay attention to the things we're doing. But it's been such a, one of the things I talk about here is that, a student at Yavapai College should get the same technology experience they would get at Arizona State or at USC or UCLA or anywhere else. And being able to be connected across the country, to be able to have connections in the industry, to be able to do those things allows us to punch above our weight class. So it's brought value to my college. It's brought value to me personally. It's made friendships that are huge. And then, provided the opportunity to find ways to serve, if that makes sense, to find ways to try and work on and build something that I care about. So moving forward, I think, it's been a very interesting year in that kind of transition, and you can see the future coalescing around what it's going to be. I think 3 priorities, or the 3 things that I think about a lot and kind of push towards, is first, as we grow global, we also push local. And there's a lot of value in connecting.
Good tagline.
Yeah, there you go. I'm full of marketing. But that, that as we grow global, the point isn't, these same few people from the United States now, are leading this global thing. It's about finding the local people in that area that want to pick up that leadership, and then doubling down on our local efforts here, whether it's road shows and get-togethers and virtual events, so that people, whether you're in a rural area in the United States, you still have the opportunity to be connected, to find HETMA people in person and online, and fill both of those things. And then I really think something that is going to be important for me going forward is really helping us tell our story. And there's people who are involved really see and understand a lot. But in the wider industry and our wider community, there's just a lot going on. So really trying to help people understand, like you said, 22 initiatives. What are they and why are they doing? What are the stories of people that are in the organization? Why is it worthwhile? And trying to cut through some of those things so that, the next generation of HETMA is, involves more people, it involves more voices, and it's long, and it, long after everyone on this call has retired, HETMA is large and growing strong, even at the, far, far into the future.
I love that. I love that. And I'll say one of the things that I think is also is hard and scary, like for me, is also like, we know the organization has to transition. It has to have new leadership. It has to have new voice. Those are all important. It's also hard to go, okay, I have to be able to let go. I have to be able to trust and know that it can be its own thing. But the power of what we've seen in the membership and just these stories, right? And just hearing that is, it's possible, right? So I'm excited when we're doing our, 14th virtual conference of who will be on and what that will look like.
And the cool part is, like, part of that turning over and letting go is knowing that, like, that may mean it won't be what we think it will be today, 5 or 10 years from now. It has to be what the leaders of the future want it to be. Our job is to build a foundation and talk about the values and, do the things today that set them up for success, and know that, the strength will come from the development and the commitment that future people who will see the value that the people on this call have already seen will bring to it. Yeah. So it's actually kind of exciting, because it means the future could be way more dynamic than even we're thinking about what it could be. Why limit ourselves to our own thoughts and ideas, and really trust those future leaders? So
yeah, I love that. Well, that's good. That's good. Good taglines too. You can just create a channel of just your marketing taglines for us.
Hashtag growing local as we grow global.
There you go. Now, so moving on, last but definitely not least. So one of the memories that I think of, and it really has to go, like the blur of an infocom where BC walks up and goes, to be part of our really fuller mission, I need to step down. And then turning to Aaron, hey, you want to be vice chair? Like this, it happened in somewhere like a course of like 5 minutes. And I'm like, what just happened to our org? This is awesome. Let's go. Make a decision now. And it was awesome to have that transition moment. And it was definitely in a moment. And now to see, from vice chair to now chair, Aaron, the question that just keeps on giving, same one to you. Oh, by the way, everybody, I was given a bullet points to follow, and I actually, for the record, I created one question out of all 4 bullet points and pass it along. That's a pro right there, everyone. So same thing to you. Walk through kind of you from attending a virtual conference and listening in to now being the face of our organization.
Yeah, I mean, the virtual conference, it is and probably will always be one of my favorite HETMA events of the year, because this was what really drew me into HETMA. Like, I showed up to a virtual conference not really knowing anybody else on the call, and I just was like, this will be interesting just to hear what other people are doing and talking about, and some of the sessions were really cool, but not really knowing that I was going to find like my people. And it was during, we were still, it was still pandemic time. I was working at home, and even though I had my team, I felt it was a very lonely kind of time. And to then meet all of these other people who are going through the same sorts of things was amazing. And then to be like, oh, well, this is a free group. Like, I don't have to pay membership to be part of this. It was like mind blown. And just ever after that, I've been like, my heart has belonged to HETMA, and I've been it's just all of the emotions to be part of this, from kind of early infancy into now I think we're kind of starting to get out of our toddler stage, maybe, where we're kind of figuring stuff out and trying to be real people with doing real things and important stuff. But yeah, I am just amazed that where we are today, and especially going back to that Infocom, where it was like, we had talked before that about the future of HETMA and me taking on more of a role, but it wasn't until that moment that it was like, oh, this is happening. Like, I really am going to be that person eventually, and starting as the vice chair, and now taking on the chair role. And it's it's so many things to so many people, and I want to keep fostering that. I want to make sure that everybody knows that they have a place here. And, you know, if you have ideas, we want to hear them, because like it is not, you know, it is not Aaron from Johns Hopkins telling everybody what to do. It's very much everybody from across the globe putting in their 2 cents to make this organization what it is, and I want to make sure that we keep that going. I mean, I love like if you just look at the representation on this board, we, you know, we could stand still to be a little more diverse. I'll give you that much. But like looking at the schools we come from, and like almost half are from small-ish schools that a lot of people may never have heard of before, you know, before coming to HETMA. But I think that that's what makes this organization great, and is going to help us continue to be great.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I definitely think, you know, it's, to me, the magic of the organization is the voices that we don't always like, that we wouldn't have had otherwise, right? That and having the unique membership, and I remember that from the steering committee, which I know I see many are on the call from, you know, Jim and Mike, and that's what I saw. Sorry, there's probably others, but and just remembering like how do we find those other voices, you know, and now to see that foster and to see that happen, you know, in our committees and in our organizations, or in all of our events, and when people step up, and it's funny because I think of like even like most recently ISE, and having someone from, you know, University of Tartu in Estonia come up and find the booth and cut, you know, engage us, and like, you know, I've heard of you. There was this like weird thing out there about this mystical Hetma, and then but then to go, oh, you're here in person, you know, and there you are, and it's like, wow, you know, that type of influence and impact. Um, so I'm going to come back to you with one more question, but in the meantime, everybody, we still have about 20 minutes or so of this session. I think, unless people cut me off. I want you to have an opportunity to ask questions. Our board is here. All of our membership, anyone, whether you're you know, a member just kind of coming in for the first time, you've been involved, a sponsor, this is an open opportunity. You can either raise your hand and I will bring you in, or you can throw something in the chat if you have any questions for the board, or me, and I'll just make up answers. So while you're doing that, Aaron, now this is your ship. Where you take, you've been chair now for 7 months ish, right? Obviously it's probably quite the shock that I warned you. But you know, where are you taking the ship? Where's it going?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting to take to head up an organization like this at the point that I took over. And because we want to grow like up and out. Like we want to, you know, we want to get those new global members, but we also want to make sure that we're building the foundation here where it all started, and really strengthening up the programs that we've already started, and making sure that we're getting all of those processes right. Like I may not be the fun and flashy type of chair that Joe Way was, but I'm going to get stuff done, and we're going to like make sure that we, and not to say that you didn't, but
Fun and flashy versus get stuff done. Those are the two lines we're taking? Well,
no,
okay.
but I mean, it kind of, it's always really felt like HETMA's kind of we've been building the car while we're flying down the highway 90 miles an hour. So really what you know, during my term as chair, I really want to make sure that we're strengthening up that foundation to make sure that everything that we are doing has a steady foundation to hold up so that, you know, we aren't this great concept of an organization that ends up just because we didn't set up the future leadership for success. So I want to make sure that we're like, doing the not fun things like putting workflows together and those sorts of things, while we also keep on the traditions that made HETMA what it is, like the amazing fun time at InfoComm and being that central place that all of the higher ed people can come and just hang out at, because InfoComm as a show can be a little bit much. And so at least knowing that we're still going to have that home base for people to come and check in on. And yeah, there's just so much, all of the things.
Yeah. Yeah. See,
But
maybe this.
yeah.
Oh, no, good.
No, and I was going to say that at ISE they had their tagline for the show was connection restored. And I found that to kind of be an interesting theme that they went to, but like for us, it's connection made. And now, we're putting in the work to keep those connections and really grow.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And more hashtags,
More
connection made. Load them on. And I think it's so true. Anyone, by the way, again, anyone has any questions, wants to join and have any questions for the board or comments, questions, concerns. Because I'm just the fun, flashy one, not the serious.
Well, okay.
Well,
Let me turn it around to you, Joe, and ask you, like, so, since you and BC founded HETMA, like, how has the mission kind of evolved? Like, even if it's in a way that you may not have expected, and what are your like key priorities for the next couple of years that you think we should be?
BC just turns his camera. You turn it around, and BC's like, "I'm out of here." You're not allowed to steal my show. Just because you have your own. So, I think about this a lot, right? I think about what our original mission was, and I know, our organization looks nothing like our initial mission, other than we always want to be free, and we always want to bring that value and that connection throughout the channel line to our members, right? That's been the thing that's been stable. Did we ever think we would have a booth at ISE when we founded this? No. Did we ever think we would have an education summit, a Prism scholarship? And we did talk, I guess one of the original ones was approved. We did talk about doing product evaluations. So that was one of the initials. But if you start looking at all these things, to then a golf tournament, to support, the Prism, to all of these areas, did I ever see that? No, definitely did not. But that said, I think one of the strengths, and this maybe goes to my being fluid and organic, if it was too structured too early, it wouldn't have been able to grow into what it is and be the voice. So every one of our initiatives exists because some member said, "Oh, I think we should do this." And my line after they say that is, "What? Thank you for volunteering to chair that committee." And we then create it and we use our resources to spin it up. Right? That's how every one of our things has happened. And the fact that we have been, and I'll say, not just to pander to our sponsors, we've been blessed by amazing sponsors who believe in what we've done. And we couldn't do that. We are blessed to have lots of resources to say, "I've got a crazy idea." This goes to everybody else who's even listening here. If there's an initiative we don't have that you think brings value to your type of school or your situation, well, there's probably a lot of other schools and situations like yours that we don't think of from our kind of station in life. Bring it up. We have resources to do that, right? Acquiring higher AV, acquiring flex space, right? Still things we're getting rolling and we're trying to, get positioned to bring added value. Works in progress, right? People said, "Are you biting off too much?" Probably. But that's also that it happens because we know there's a subsection of our membership who can find value out of that one thing. Instead of saying, okay, as a board, what do we find value in, and only going toward that. Uh, I successfully said a lot without answering your question. But
I mean,
think,
isn't that what we do always?
absolutely, yes. I took your very short question, turned it a very long answer, and said nothing. Um, but I think, but yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of what it is. And if I look into the future, I think the only sure thing is there won't be as many new initiatives because I'm not chair, and I won't just spin up something on a back end community channel on a Friday, and next thing we know, we're it's by Monday, it's now got a website and it's rolling,
We're
right?
hosting a golf tournament.
So at least that won't happen anymore. Um, but so I think that we're in an amazing spot. And but also that said, I would love to see us foster our save partnership more. I think there's more we can do with our integrator partners. I think that's something I've heard is how we can get more connection there for that from our members. So I do think there's areas that we haven't invested in, that we've created partnerships with, that haven't had a full investment yet. So I'd like to see those over the next year or so. And I'll shut up, and BC, you answer the same question.
Okay. Now you took it all. No. I don't know. It's, we've grown in directions that I never really anticipated. So trying to think of the future it's a little cloudy, a little ambivalent. It's I think a lot of it depends on our membership. I mean, that it's such a wealth of experience and knowledge out there, and even fresh questions that we haven't even thought up yet. I think, Joe alluded to it, that, somebody would come and bring an idea and be, great, you volunteered, you're going to be doing that now. That's kind of how HETMA continues to grow and change, is based upon what our members see, what our members want. And I think that's kind of one of the most powerful aspects of it, is that it's not just big schools or medium-sized schools. We have a lot of community colleges, a lot of regional schools, a lot of those smaller footprint areas that have challenges and opportunities that other schools don't. And it's, I was talking with one of our partners the other day about it, about how, it's not as simple as, as X and Y sometimes. We have a lot of different avenues that we can pass things through in order to get to our solutions. So it's, again, I think the one thing that I keep coming back to is that HETMA just always feels like it grows organically. Like there's, we don't have a lot of structure, and that honestly is by design, because, we have to be able to pivot and change quickly.
Nope, take a drink. Now, yeah. Oh my gosh.
Can I chime in real quick there, Joe?
You may.
I may. No, I wanted to reiterate kind of what you touched on quickly, because I was sitting here listening to this conversation and thinking sort of the same thing. So for everyone who's listening, to me, our purpose boils down to, we want to make your life, both professional and personal, either easier or better. I mean, that's kind of what we exist for and what we try to use our resources for. So, if you're having trouble making connections with integrators or manufacturers, or getting the products that you need to do your job, or making professional networking type connections with other people, and it's like, we want to make that easier for you. And why sometimes, those of us who volunteer, I'm sure all reach a point where we ask ourselves, why am I spending so much time doing this, right? I see Ryan shaking his head. But I have to remind myself of that. It's because we're trying to make everyone's lives collectively easier or better. And so, you kind of went down that road, Joe, and I was sitting there thinking that, and that applies to our partners too. If you're a manufacturer and you're trying to sell your devices and reach a bunch of people, we want to make that easier for you. Let us help make that connection. So it's a two-way street. And that's kind of why we exist.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like any sort of community, you get out of it what you put into it. So the more you get involved, the more you end up, getting out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. Easier or better. And I think it's true. And I think that goes all the way up and down the channel line. And it's really what we've existed for. And we've seen it. And we've seen that support from the industry in huge ways. Community. Yeah, absolutely, Jim. One of our original steering committee members, Jim Wellings. So I'm kind of stalling. So we do have an announcement to make. State of HETMA does have an announcement to make. But we're missing one part of it on the call. Did we know this part wasn't going to be here?
Yeah,
We
found
did.
out
Okay,
this
so I'm sitting here
morning.
waiting for this part. So I'm going to
Yeah.
throw something in chat. Who's going to announce it?
I'll go for it.
It's already out there. It's already coming across the Twitters. So
Yeah.
there's the return. Aaron, what is it?
Yes. So if you have not heard yet, Ryan Gray has decided to step back as the vice chair of HETMA. So I had the awesome pleasure of selecting the new one, and it will be Troy Powers. Unfortunately, Troy was not able to join us because he got pulled into a meeting with leadership, with his school's leadership today, because that's very HETMA like, because that always happens to us during these events, and that's the beauty and the curse of being important people on our campuses, that we end up getting pulled away. But I'm very much looking forward to Troy being part, a different part of the board, because he is already a board member. And so also for anybody who is curious as to how this is going to work, because now Troy's 2-year at-large board member position is technically vacant. So for the remainder of this election cycle, which will be starting soon, Ryan Gray will step into the 2-year chair again. And then when election time comes around, we will then put up that last year of the 2-year cycle up for election. So, but yeah, speaking of elections, please start thinking about, any position that you'd be interested in running for, or people that you think would be good to nominate. But yeah.
Yay. So big congrats to Troy and Ryan. You are back to it's like you're right back where you were from 2-year vice chair, 2-year. It's just, I guess it's your home for a bit, or at least for a few more months until.
It must be something about that 2-year position,
Oh,
because that's how I started as the
that's
2-year at large. And then Ryan was 2-year at large. Troy was
The
2-year
irony,
at
it
large.
wasn't,
So
we just got done actually getting all of the email moved from what I had to him. Now we're gonna have to switch it back. But yeah, no, I'm very pumped about Troy doing this and where his head's at, and I think it's, the org needs a really active vice chair. Our chair needs a really active and supportive vice chair. And so, I'm pumped about this move.
Yep. So to give a little bit, I'm assuming, Aaron, you and Troy have had some conversations. How do you kind of see that your duo working, taking charge? Where do you see? I would ask Troy what his what his plan is for the future, but why don't you share a little bit with that?
yeah, so I mean, we haven't had a whole lot of time really, because this really all kind of the selection process and whatnot kind of has happened over the last couple of weeks, and it wasn't really firmed up until a couple days ago. And so it we haven't had a whole lot of time to talk about it, but I did make sure I met with him before making it official, just to see where he's going and what he's interested in. And really a lot of it is to support my my mission is to basically to keep all of our, all of our stuff going, and to solidify the processes and stuff like that. But I mean, he is very, he has always been very hands-on with a lot of the committees and stuff, and he definitely plans on continuing that sort of thing. But just, making sure that we try to get the gamification of some of our programs up and running, so that we keep that interest in approved program and the hex program and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a lot happening really quickly, but all super exciting for the future of HETMA.
Yeah, I love it. Yes, congrats and good luck to you all. For you, I think it's a great pairing. I think there's, to me, we obviously, BC and I served in kind of an advise and consent role over this transition time, and I think that there's a lot of parallels. I think between when BC and I think there's always a sense of BC was always my workhorse behind the scenes while I was out there being fun and flashy and not taking everything seriously. Um, and I see that same type of thing. You're a great figurehead for our organization, and having Troy as that workhorse behind you, keeping everything going and moving forward, will be a great combination. So we wish you the best with that.
I think on that.
Yeah, I mean, we need that kind of, you always have to have that balance. Like, you can't have two leaders too similar. You gotta kind of have some people that that we can play off of each other's strengths. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
So with that being said, we have a couple minutes till the top of the hour. So I'm going to go ahead and land this plane. Thank you to everybody, the board. We also do need to give a shout out to Britt Yenser, who is our 3-year at large, like all of us, having actual real work to do. See, unless you're part of my staff, and I let my staff attend. Okay, they're on this call. So those of you who are looking for work, Josiah Way at ucla.edu. You could attend these virtual conferences as part of your day job. All right. So anyway, thank you to the board for this. Everyone else, get ready for a great week ahead. This is being posted as a Hired AV episode later today. So if you are listening to this on the days, there's still more 2 days of the conference all the way through Wednesday. I don't know if we actually have, yeah, absolutely, master the shameless plug. I don't know if we have the actual time of the record for the happy hour. But we will try to set that by sometime this week, and we will see you all. And as always, all the opinions expressed here are not say those of our respective institutions, sponsors, or even HETMA. You know what? If you want to sue us, this was not our opinion. So that's it. We just don't sue us, and we'll see you next time. Okay, that's it. I'll hit stop.